On this week's U.S. Farm Report, we'll be visiting with Missouri's outstanding farm family, so designated by the American Royal Livestock and Horse Show of Kansas City. Also, we'll be visiting with a pro football player who is also a farmer. And in addition, Orrin Lee Staley, president of NFO, answers often asked questions about his organization. So stay tuned. Hi, everybody, and welcome to U.S. Farm Report. This week, we are pleased to present the president of the National Farmers Organization, Mr. Orrin Lee Staley, who will answer the most often asked questions about his NFO organization. Also, we're going to feature Fred Arbanis, tight end of the Kansas City Chiefs, world's champions, who also is a Missouri farmer. And our first guest on this week's show, Mr. Larry Estep, whose family was chosen in 1970 as the outstanding Missouri farm family, so chosen by the American Royal Livestock and Horse Show, an annual event in Kansas City. Larry, being chosen as the outstanding farm family of Missouri has to be a great thrill for you and your wife and the kids.
It sure is.
How did this come about, by the way?
Well, the University of Missouri has a farm management award they give every spring, and there's 27 families from western half Missouri, and we were selected as one of the winners in that 27 families.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's, I guess the university sent a bunch of names to the directors of the American Royal, and they selected our name as the family for the American Royal this year.
Now, as I understand it, not every county in the state of Missouri is represented by a family, but many counties are.
That's
and,
right.
Out of these many families, the farm family of Missouri, is chosen by the directors of the Royal.
That's right.
Tell us about your farm. How many acres are you farming here?
We own 495 acres, and I rent 120 more from a neighbor. And I raise about 800 to 1,000 hogs a year, and I have a cow herd of 95 head, which I fatten the calves out from them,
Mm-hmm.
and I buy stalkers in the fall, about another 50 to 100 head.
Mm-hmm. Now, your farm is located about, 7, 8 miles south of Cameron, Missouri, but your post office is Turney.
That's right.
Is there a town of Turney, Larry?
Yes, there's a town. It's about 180 or 90 population, something like that.
Yeah. How many generations of Esteps have been on this farm, Larry?
My children will make the 6th generation. It's farm was started in Estep name about 1863.
That long ago.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about your family. You have 3 children. How old are they? And tell us something about them.
Wilbur Lee, my oldest boy, is 14. He's a freshman in high school, and he's taking his first year of FFA. My girl, Joy, is in the 5th grade, and she's 10 years old. And my little boy, Douglas, is in the 1st grade. He's 6 years old.
Great family. Do these boys give you any indication at this point in time, Larry, that they want to stay on the farm, or is it a little early to tell?
It's a little early, but they're thinking about it, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they will anyway.
Let's take a little tour of your farming operation here. We notice some excellent storage facilities. Now, you're growing corn and beans, and you're
Right.
storing here. How many bushel capacity of storage do you have?
Well, we have about 14,000 bushel storage.
You raising beans as a cash crop?
Yes, I store them and hold them till the next year to sell them.
Has this been advantageous to you?
It's pays every year at the store, I found out.
Well, that's fine. And you're feeding all of your corn.
Yes, and that, and a lot more, too.
Have to buy some more.
Yes.
Well, tell us about these cattle down here now. They look fine, they look fat, they look like they're ready for market. You've held them back purposely, waiting for a little better market situation, haven't you?
Yes, I wanted to sell them sometime this next month.
Now, all of these cattle came out of your cow herd, right?
That's right.
And how old are these cattle?
Well, they came in March of '69.
Yeah. Do you prefer Angus?
I've got along good with them. They
Yeah.
seem to do well for me.
Yeah. Now, what about your hog operation? You have an excellent farrowing house, and your other installation, it looks outstanding and fairly new. Did you build that yourself?
Yes,
What do you call that? The feeding floor or
it's a finishing floor.
finishing floor? This is where you finish them out,
That's
right?
right. I take them out of my farrowing house down and put them right into a pen on the finishing floor.
How long do you keep them in there until what weight they achieve?
In the finishing floor,
Yeah,
till they go to market.
I see.
About 230 pounds, what I like to sell them
Yeah.
at.
Well, that sure looks like a great installation.
I like it, I believe, so far.
Yeah, then you build it yourself.
Yes, I did.
Well, that's great. You must have some talent along that line. We've noticed some other installations around your farm here. For example, you have a new double garage with a loft above. Did you build that?
Well, not really. I had one of my uncles build that for me.
Yeah.
I helped him a little, but not too much.
Well, it's really outstanding. Tell me a little bit about NFO in this area. Have you ever belonged to NFO?
I did when they first came out. I joined 1 year, then I quit.
And you haven't been a member since?
No, I haven't.
Are there very many NFO members through this part of Missouri?
There's not too many, but there is a few around.
Yeah, are they pretty active?
Oh, at times they are.
Yeah, what about membership and that kind of thing? Do you have NFO people coming by to talk to you about joining?
I haven't for several years, but I did have quite a few.
Do you think that the farmer needs to organize, Larry?
I believe they need some kind of an organization. I don't know which one will work,
Yeah.
but they need something.
Well, you know, it's encouraging to hear you say that. I think you would agree that so many farmers, and this is understandable, of course, still want to be independent and feel that they can do it alone. I bet you there are some of your friends who feel that way.
Well, I imagine you're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I just wonder this about a non-member like yourself. Are there certain questions from time to time that come up in your mind about NFO that you might like to ask somebody?
Yes, I'd like to ask Mr. Staley a question.
Well, he's right out there waiting for your question, so why don't you ask him the question that you have in mind?
Mr. Staley, what has NFO done to increase prices?
First, I think you have to recognize what it takes to be successful in collective bargaining in agriculture. You have to be industry-wide. This means nationwide. And the fact that the NFO is in all 48 states of the continental United States has made the NFO a operating function of farmers in many areas. In fact, only when we got in all 48 states were that we could affect the movement of supply of agricultural commodities could we really be effective. Because you have to be able to either bargain or have the capability of bargaining, which means a readjustment of the movement of supply in all areas that a particular product is produced. This means that many agricultural products are produced in almost every state of the nation. And so the NFO is in a position to either bargain or has the capability of bargaining in each of the agricultural producing areas. So the NFO, because of its effect in bargaining, has been able to substantially raise the general price level. Now, you only have to look at the law of supply and demand theory and to see what the predictions were for prices on agricultural products as they were being projected for the months ahead several times in the past several months. And here you see that the production figures that were given were accurate. You see that the supply then situation was about as predicted. But the prices were considerably higher than people were predicting. Why? The NFO was the only new factor involved. And this means that the NFO has been able to raise the general price level because we have been bargaining and using the collective bargaining program of the NFO throughout the 48 states of the continental United States. There's one key to this that makes the NFO the price leader, and that is whenever NFO bargains out for its members a price that's a little above the price in a particular area, everyone immediately tries to beat the price the NFO members are receiving. The next thing that happens is that we had low price areas that always destroyed higher price areas. And by the fact that we were able to move production into new marketing channels, into new marketing patterns, that it simply meant that everybody tried to beat the price the NFO members were receiving in the low price areas, and therefore low price areas disappeared. And this meant that processors as well as producers benefited, because no longer were processors that were paying a price in a certain area undercut by lower price areas. It meant that the use of the collective bargaining program, which is relatively easy to explain, because there's no magic involved in bargaining. All you have to do is to have to be in a position to have something that someone else has to have that they can't get somewhere else. And this means that you have to block your production together, and by blocking your production together, then you bargain for the sale of that production, and by bargaining and selling together, then you're able to raise the general price level, and this is the effect that the NFO has had on the market price of many commodities.
How can NFO keep raising the general price level?
Well, Riri, there are two basic steps that farmers have to follow in order for the NFO to keep raising farm prices, and eventually to get in the position where farmers get the cost of production plus a reasonable profit. First, farmers must organize. That means joining the NFO so that they build their total economic strength nationwide, so it's an effective block. And secondly, they have to block that production together and bargain and sell together so that that production through the block that has been brought together nationwide then can be used effectively at the marketplace so that farmers get in a position to have something to say about the price they get for their product.
Well, I hope that Orrin Lee Staley has adequately answered your questions for you, Larry.
I'm sure he has.
It's been a real pleasure visiting you, and we appreciate your hospitality. We're happy that you allowed U.S. Farm Report to come out to your farm today and meet you and your family. It's been our pleasure.
I was glad to have you come out.
Thank you very much. I see your son Bill over here, and I want to go over and say hello to him.
Fine.
Hi, Bill. How you doing?
Okay.
Hey, I want to congratulate you on the very nice honor that your family has had from the American Royal. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I did.
How long have you been a member of FFA, Bill?
This is my first year.
Have you gone into an FFA project?
Yes.
What is your project?
I'm raising sow litter and showing York pigs.
Well, that's great. Well, have you done it yet, or are you just getting ready? I mean, I don't understand how these things occur.
I just started and I showed some pigs this summer. I won quite a few ribbons.
Well, that's great. That's wonderful. How do you feel about farming at your age of 14, Bill? Do you think that the way things are now looking to you that you perhaps will be a farmer and follow in your dad's footsteps?
Oh, I like it a lot. I'm going to farm when I get older.
Well, that's great. You're the 6th generation of E-steps on this farm, and then your kids, you see, will be the 7th, and it might just go on forever, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Bill. Have any of the FFA boys with whom you associate wondered about NFO? Have you heard them talk about it?
A little bit.
We noticed at the National Convention last year in Louisville, Kentucky, quite a contingent of FFA boys down there learning about NFO and what it was all about, you know. And in fact, I'm not going to challenge you here about the FFA creed, but as I recall, there is one facet of your creed that states something about the fact that your organization believes in getting a fair price for your farm commodities and doing a lot less begging at the marketplace. And of course, NFO's philosophy is pretty much the same. Do you by any chance have a question about NFO you would like to ask of the president, Orrin Lee Staley? If so, there he is, and you can state your question to him.
Well, are there any things about collective bargaining that the average farmer does not understand?
Well, I think one of the main points that's hard for farmers to realize is that when they're delivering livestock or they're delivering grain or they're moving through the NFO collective bargaining program with their milk, that what they're doing in that one particular area, whether it be in the state of New York or California or the state of Florida or the state of Washington, that they do not realize that what they move there is a part of a total block that is being bargained for. In other words, their bargaining has gone on with major companies as far as the movement of the supply is concerned, pricing formulas and such. And then these collection points, or these delivery points, or this loading out of grain, or this movement of milk is a part of a total structure that you might say that where the supply is being played almost like a checker game. And therefore the members have to realize, and farmers have to realize, that the coordinated effort that gives the NFO the ability to move production into new marketing patterns and to be able to move production out of an area, and the NFO, of course, being in a position where everyone is trying to beat the price the NFO members are receiving, that this method and this manner that is being used in collective bargaining is affecting the general price level all over the United States.
Bill, I want to thank you very much for being on our show today, and I want to wish you a lot of luck in FFA and in farming. You're a nice young man and a very proud member of an outstanding Missouri farm family. Thanks so much. Fred Arbanis, occupation, professional football player. 6 months out of the year, he plays tight end for the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. And during that 6 months, he combines football, farming, and feeder cattle into the good life, a year-round endeavor with Angus on 40 acres of grass. Looking to the future, Fred Arbanis wants to build a cow herd, and he already has a start on that project, hoping to build a future for himself when his playing days are over, and for his only son, Mike, who is 9, and who has his roots on the farm. This is home to the Arbanises, Fred, Mike, Fred's wife Sharon, and their 2 daughters, Lisa 7 and Jo Beth 2. The Arbanis farm has horses too, quarter horses and Appaloosas. Fred Arbanis is not a member of NFO, but like many non-members, his mind is not closed to the idea of membership. There are some questions, however, he'd like to have answered. And what better source for answers to questions about NFO than the organization's national president, Orrin Lee Staley.
I've heard an awful lot about the NFO. I've heard it's real good and it's done a lot of good for the farmers. I just wonder why farmers haven't organized.
I think there are several basic reasons why farmers have not organized. I think first that they have not realized how the rest of the economy operates. Secondly, they have been taught and have carried out their teachings, and that is that they had to beat their neighbor. It was individual competition. Therefore, they have not translated the change in the economy over to the fact that today you have to compete as a group, as an organized force, and that you have to compete from an economic power base because everyone else does. I think the best examples of this are any news publication or any news report which almost every day talks about some group somewhere in the country, whether it's the garbage haulers, whether it's the teachers, or whoever it may be, that they, through their organization, have been effective in doing something about their wage scale, or when you see the announcement of increased prices on whether it's automobiles or whether it's steel, there you see increased use of economic power. It simply means that farmers have not realized that in the 70s they have to organize and they have to compete as an industry instead of competing against each other, which in effect destroys each and every one's ability to get a fair price for their products at the marketplace.
Are farmers really receiving a fair price for their product?
Well, I think it's obvious to everyone in the rural communities that farmers are not receiving a fair price for their products. You only have to look back to the fact that farmers are receiving less than they received 20 years ago. You only have to look to the figures that show that they're at somewhere between the 73 to 75% of parity, which is supposed to be the fair relationship between the cost of the products that they have to buy and the price they receive for their products. So I think with just a few facts at hand, and facts that are so obvious to everyone, that anyone that's close to agriculture knows that farmers are not receiving a fair price for their products.
What can I, as an individual farmer, do about low prices?
Well, in the present economy, it's absolutely impossible for the individual farmer to do anything about getting a fair price for the products that they produce. There are several reasons for this. First, you have nationwide companies that buy agricultural products in all areas of the United States that produce that particular product. You have the large concentrated buying and selling power that exists today in the buying structure. And therefore, it's impossible for an individual farmer or for farmers in one area to be able to do anything about receiving a fair price for their products. It simply means that in today's economy, everyone else is organized. And those that remain unorganized get in a weaker and a weaker position. Let's take, for example, a repair that a farmer might buy for a tractor. If he had a tractor that's 5 years old, and he were to buy a repair today, he would find that that repair is substantially higher in cost than it was a year ago, and almost unbelievably higher than it was 5 years ago. Now, why? You only have to look at what has happened in the pricing of that particular repair. People somewhere have organized in some segment of the industry that manufactured that product, and through their organized efforts, they've been able to get a higher wage. And the producer, the farmer, pays for that increased wage when he buys that product. Now, I'm not opposed to people organizing. The only point that I'm trying to make is that in today's economy, we are living in the 70s, and it's a different type of economy than we've ever lived in before. And then let's look at the steel industry. Here you have an example of where there's organized capital, tremendous concentrated buying and selling power. So if the steel industry finds that it's not having a profitable ratio in return on the amount of investment involved in the steel industry, they have to raise the price of the steel products, because people would not buy stock in steel companies unless it is assurance in the fact that the profit is a comparable ratio to the profit in other segments of the economy. So it means that the large steel companies are able to say this is a price increase, so they'll get more profit. So people will buy stock in their company. And therefore, when the price of steel goes up, it means that the farmer that buys that repair has to pay for that increased profit. Therefore, unless the farmers organize to be able to compete at the marketplace and be able to get a fair price for their products at the marketplace, it simply means that every time the price of steel goes up or wages go up in the manufacturing of the product that they have to buy, that they get weaker and weaker because they are not able to pass their increased costs on the marketplace. Therefore, unless farmers organize and are able to pass their increased cost on at the marketplace, they will not be able to compete in today's economy, the economy of the 70s. Therefore, they have to organize and be able to price their products in order to be able to get a fair price for their products and, in turn, a fair profit.
Can you sum up the history of NFO as far as collective bargaining is concerned?
Well, I think that we would have to divide the NFO into three transition periods. First, the NFO started out with an idea, a theory, a piece of paper, you might say, with a proposal, a blueprint for farmers to use their economic strength to bargain collectively for the sale of their products. This particular part of the NFO has been accepted, and we have won the battle of debate, you might say. Because today almost everyone realizes that collective bargaining in American agriculture is necessary and that it is absolutely essential to the welfare of the people that farm and of the people that market agricultural products. Then as we move from the theoretical stage, from the idea stage, into actual bargaining, we found that the large companies would not accept the theory and the principle unless there was an economic battle involved. This meant the holding action, which in a way was a direct confrontation with the economic forces and the old marketing structure. And this meant that the farmers holding their products to put a price tag on those products was, in effect, a direct confrontation, an economic battle engaged in with those companies that buy agricultural products. Now, after we had shown more strength in each of the holding actions, there began to be an acceptance of the large companies as far as the NFO is concerned. And now we're into the actual bargaining phase, where we bargain together and sell together. And this is the phase that now we've got to get the people to understand how to use collective bargaining. They have to understand that when we bargain out a better contract, a better price, that immediately when we've bargained out that contract, everybody else tries to meet the price the NFO members are receiving. But in order to be able to increase the price level and to bring about a higher price level and to create upward price pressure, that you meet the commitments of on the contract that you signed. And then, by the fact that they try to break you up or to split up the production in block that has been brought together, the price increase is offered over the new price level that the NFO has brought about through the signing of the contract. Now, what the farmers have to understand and have to realize is that if by selling out for an extra cent a bushel or an extra 10 cents a hundredweight over the new price that has been established, because NFO is the price leader, because everyone tries to beat the price the NFO members are receiving. But if farmers do not keep that block together and sell out for another cent a bushel or 10 cents a hundredweight, that it simply means that the block is then again divided and the big companies can deal with farmers as individuals. Therefore, the farmers have to realize that they take advantage of the gains that they brought about only if they keep their block together, sign one contract, meet the commitments on that contract, and then when everybody meets that price level, they bargain out a contract that again improves their price level. Everyone trying to meet that price then means that you have stair-stepped the prices.
U.S. Farm Report is seen each week at this same time on this same station. Until we meet again, so long, everybody.